Hello and a warm welcome back to the channel of Automotive Nonsense. Now, when I was 10 years old, someone T-boned my mother in a brown Vauxhall Cavalier. Save your smutty jokes for later, please. And we replaced that car with a Hyundai Elantra. But in the mid-90s, no one knew what Hyundai was. They just built cheap cars. Now it's 2023. They're building cars like this, the Ioniq 6, which is frankly a mad car that everyone else is going to be too scared to build. I've been living with this for a week, and I'm here to tell you if you should buy this £50,000 EV. And I've messed up already. This is actually a £47,000 car if you get the entry-level premium trim. This is a top-spec ultimate trim that adds things like door handles that pop themselves out and a nice thumping Bose sound system. This is the dual motor, so it's the fast one with 320-ish horsepower. Very fast, and it's 54 grand. It's got one of the only options you can actually add to the Ioniq 6, these digital door mirrors, £1,000 to replace bits of glass that do a better job than these. So I wouldn't do that, but we'll talk about that in the driving bit of this review, which is coming up. Now, it's a long car. It's 4.85 meters long. If you've got the Ioniq 5, that's the sister car to this, the boxy retro SUV, that's actually 20 centimeters shorter than this. So yeah, it's a big white whale breaching the surface of the ocean like in Free Willy. Oh, and this white paint is a few £100 as well. If you want the free color in the UK, it is what I can only describe as Car Wow Blue. I think Matt Watson's in their marketing department. Just like the Ioniq 5, you can get this with a rear motor only version, which will do 330 miles on the charge. This dual motor with a 77 kilowatt hour battery will do about 270. In my experience, more like 250 miles in the real world. Now, it will charge very quickly. It's got 800 volt architecture, like a Porsche Taycan, but slightly cheaper. And it will charge from 10 to 80% on a fast charger in about 18 minutes, which is very fast, but it will cost you more than a tank of petrol probably at a public fast charger. But whatever. It's designed to be super sleek and aerodynamic. It's got this double ducktail, try saying that quickly, double ducktail spoiler arrangement. I've been getting 3.7 miles per kilowatt hour out of this, which is above average in terms of efficiency, but it's not schmazing. My first impressions of the cabin of the Ioniq 6 were not that great, to be frank. I thought it makes some ergonomic faux pauses. I'm really good at French. For a start, you can't rest your elbow on the door. It just slides off. That really annoys me on long drives. Secondly, it's one of the only modern cars where I hit my head if I move about at all. I have to kind of sit in one place. I'm 6'3". The seat is as low as it will go. That's a really odd issue, and I think it's because the floor is really high. You kind of step into this car, you don't drop down into it like a normal saloon because it's full of batteries underneath the floor. That said, the rest of the tech is pretty good. I've got these big twin screens here. Because I've got the ultimate version, I've got LEDs on the steering wheel, that kind of 4-dot thing, which is Morse code for H, so it's not Hyundai badge, but it's Morse code for Hyundai. That changes color when you go into reverse, when you're about to crash, things like that. The ultimate pack also gives you the Bose sound system. I've already said that. That is really nice. It also gives you ventilated seats, which on a day like today, which is 32 degrees Celsius, hence the sweat, that is worth having. I've also got one of the world's slightly more pathetic sunroofs, which doesn't cover the back seats at all and is now making a load of noise because I pressed the button too hard. That's also part of the ultimate pack. Now, what is not part of the ultimate pack is the ability to switch the leather between black or white. That is a no-cost option, so if you want really easy to mark white leather seats, you can go nuts. Otherwise, I quite like it. Loads of storage down here. I've got a wireless charging mat there. I've got storage for days, frankly. I've got 2 USB-Cs in here, a USB-A there, and yeah, we'll show you the back seats. The other thing to point out is you've got a glove drawer, not a glove box. These door mirrors, still don't like them because they're not mirrors. Let's check out the back seats. Rear seat space in the Ioniq 6 is pretty good. I've got loads of knee room. I haven't got loads of room for my feet. They only just fit under the seat. The floor is quite high. There's no hump in the middle, so the middle seat's actually usable. It's easy to fit a child seat to. And I've got 2 USB-Cs. The only downside is headroom. When I lean back, my head is smashing into the roof with the force of 1,000 angry oxen. So yeah, that's not great. I have got heated rear seats though. It's a mixed bag. If you're putting kids back here, fine. If you're putting lanky YouTube people back here, not so fine. If you're 6 foot or under, you'll be okay, but I'm not. God, that was waffly. Oh, and small door bins. Now, I cannot recommend the Ioniq 6 if you want to put dead bodies in the boot. It's only got 401 litres of boot space because of that swooping roofline, that sexy design. So yeah, it's not as big as SUVs, the Ioniq 5, things like that. You can fold down the rear seats remotely here, and there's a little bit of space under the boot floor. For your charging cables, there's also a frunk, which is smaller on this one because it's a dual motor. But yeah, you've got this saloon opening. It's not the worst, it's not the best, there's a bit of a drop into it. Try before you buy, unless you are in the business of killing people probably don't take a dead body to your local Hyundai dealer and say, hey, can I put a corpse in one of your cars? Because, well, they might say yes. Depends how desperate they are for registrations at the end of the month. The Ioniq 6 drives just like the Ioniq 5 when you want to set off. You twist a little thing down here, foot and the brake, check your shoulders, which is easier said than done because there is a big thick B pillar here, which is actually quite annoying, especially when you can't really trust the digital door mirrors, or they take a while to get used to. But yeah, it drives pretty quietly, pretty smoothly on bumpy roads. You do feel the effect of that weight and also the big 20-inch wheels here in the UK. It's not annoying, but it's just not as cosseting and smooth as you might like. It is not like getting a trifle and smearing it all over your naked torso, which is a bit of a shame. It's a bit of a missed opportunity. What it is though, if you put it in sport mode, is really fast. This dual motor version, yeah, 0 to 62 in 5.1 seconds. That sounds fast. It feels faster. It's really odd, and it's got proper mid-range go. I've been getting 260 miles, 265 miles out of this on a full charge. In the dual motor version, the high power version, 325 horsepower is what I've got. Yeah, which is pretty decent, and that has been with the aircon and stuff on as well, so it's not being hyper-miling, being extra careful. Now, I have left it in eco mode most of the time, but that still lets you have cold air and things like that. It doesn't feel particularly sporty to drive in corners. It feels like it doesn't want to be hustled. You can tell it's based on Kia and Hyundai and Genesis's e-GIMP platform, because none of those cars feel especially sporty in the corners too. The steering is quite numb, and you don't really want to drive it that quickly around corners because, well, why would you on the public road? It's not a sports car. Otherwise, visibility out the back is surprisingly good considering that weird shape, and this mirror is really big and you get a massive view out the back there. Now, these door mirrors, I'm going to keep this brief. I don't like digital screens instead of mirrors because you can never angle them down enough to see the rear wheels when you're parallel parking, and I've nearly curbed those really pretty wheels quite a few times, and you end up just being extra cautious in your parking. Takes extra time, and because you can't move your head to change the angle, it just feels really unnatural. Now, they are in a better place than most digital door mirrors. Like Audi puts them down here, but this is actually quite a natural place because it's not far away from the speedo. So in one regard it's better than an actual mirror, but in all the others it's not. Anyway, let's get to dual carriageway and find out how refined it is. Now, as you'd expect, you can use the gear shift paddles to put it into a one pedal driving mode. That works really well if you like the game of stopping at traffic lights without using the brakes. But anyway, we're going to get from 50 up to 70 miles an hour. It's quick, right? That's 70. If you hear any bonging, it's because it bongs when you break the speed limit, even by 1 mile an hour. You can turn it off, but in my experience, it turns it back on every time you turn the ignition off and back on. I think it might be a me problem, not saving profiles properly, because this is a press car, but yeah, it's something to be aware of. Now, we're doing 70 miles an hour, and as you can hear, there's basically no wind noise, but there is quite a bit of tyre roar from those 20-inch wheels. It's not more than any other petrol or diesel car. It's just not as silent as something like a much more expensive BMW iX. So yeah, it's okay, and I imagine if you did have the non-camera door mirrors, the sensible ones for sensible people with eyes and who don't want to waste £1,000, sorry, am I cynical? There'll probably be a bit more wind noise. But yeah, otherwise, this is quite a nice car to do big journeys in. I did 300 miles in it in the past 2 days on motorways, and I actually really enjoyed using the self-driving systems. It's adaptive cruise control combined with lane keep assist, so you can just go along and it will match the speed of the car in front, keep you to your speed limits even when they change, and it will stop you crashing. And it worked really quite well. A lot of bonging involved, but it did work well. Anyway, enough about bongs. Let's head back to me in that lay-by for a conclusion. Right, here's my wrap up to the Hyundai Ioniq 6. It has to be celebrated for a start because it's not another SUV, and we also need to celebrate the acid trip Hyundai's currently on with the Ioniq 5. This and the sporty stuff they've got coming looks super retro and super cool. No one else would make this car. Should they have made this car? Well, yeah, I think they should have done it. It's worked for me as a practical family car. It's pretty efficient. My kids like going in the back, and if you like getting attention in a car, yeah, one of these in bright white is a hell of a good way to go about it. Now, downside, some of those interior foibles, not being able to rest my elbow there, is actually pretty annoying long term, and the center console does feel a bit cheap in places. The ride is also quite firm, and because the UK market takes these 20-inch wheels, we're not getting the biggest range we can get out of this car. Other markets on smaller wheels are getting 380 miles maximum because they've got smaller wheels, but we've sacrificed 50 miles to look cool. Yeah, says the man in orange shorts and pasty white legs. But anyway, hopefully this has been helpful. If you want to buy one of these and you've got any questions, let me know down in the comments. If you have bought one, hey, let's celebrate and be friends. Do subscribe to the channel, hit like button, and go down in the comments and leave me the Korean word for Free Willy. Yeah, not the whale. See you next time.